Hi, I'm Scoot. There is still a lot to talk about concerning the two tragic shootings over the weekend. After my radio show on Monday afternoon here at WWL in New Orleans, um, I'm just, I guess I shouldn't be, but I'm surprised by the degree of hate that is part of conversations on the air, text messages, but especially Facebook comments. On my Facebook page, Scoot on the air, people were criticizing me as if this was something I did. They were criticizing me as a way of diverting from the reality that these two young people are the suspects in these horrific shootings. And that one of them seemed to have pretty close ties with white supremacist mentality. I give President Trump credit. Today, he denounced racism, bigotry, and he denounced white supremacy. 24 hours before he did that, I posted on Facebook that the president is running out of time to denounce white supremacy. And if he doesn't do it now, he's only going to give those people who call him racist even more reason to call him racist. So about 24 hours later, the president did denounce white supremacy. Now, this was a really nice speech. The president said a lot of things, a lot of really, really good things. But time will tell if those were cheap words or if he's going to stand by what he said. And if he doesn't stand by what he said, based on just the attention that's being paid to this event, if he doesn't back up his words with actions and reality, these words are going to come back against him. And he'll be called a liar. So it's in his control. I had people call the radio show and say, well, he hasn't done anything yet. Well, by that time, he hadn't had a chance to do anything yet. So as a responsible person, I'm going to wait and give the president a chance. Let's hope he lives up to his words. Why would anybody hope he doesn't live up to his words? And the president said some really profound things. He has great speechwriters, as almost all presidents do. The words they come up with, the phrasing, it's beautiful. It's brilliant. And it was well delivered, except at the end where President Trump said it was Toledo, Ohio, and not Dayton, Ohio. But you know what? I make mistakes on the air. That was a live situation. I make mistakes. I'm not going to beat the president up for mistaking Dayton for Toledo. I mean, to me, that's a minor thing. But the president said something very profound. He said it was the hate, or something to the effect of, it was the hate that pulled the trigger, not the gun. And he's right about that. And it's really interesting and very sad that there was a time when Americans came together following a tragedy. We would come together and mourn together. We don't do that anymore. We're not doing that right now. Immediately, as soon as the shooting in El Paso was over, fingers were being pointed. And then the shooting in Dayton, Ohio, about 13 hours later, fingers were being pointed at both sides. This takes the temperature of the political climate in which we live. And it's sad. It's sad. And frankly, I don't know what's going to change it. If anything, I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to change this. And the hate is so deep. You know, and then people were bringing up things like, well, what about Antifa? What about Antifa? Antifa's a bad group, okay? And I've denounced them, and they should be denounced. But what does Antifa have to do with this? It's almost as if people are once again saying, some people are once again saying, well, why criticize these guys when, well, why don't you criticize Antifa? Well, I have criticized Antifa, and so have a lot of people. And so it's fair for us to criticize the two young white males that are responsible for this. And even pointing out that they're two young white males is appropriate because so many people stereotype young black males as being the problem, or young Muslims as being the problem, or illegal immigrants as being the problem. Let's be honest. There's a problem with some people who don't fit into stereotypes that are criticized. And these two young men fit into that category. So I applaud President Trump for what he said. Let's hope he backs it up. And, where do we go from here? Instead of bringing out the best in people, these two tragic shootings have brought out the worst in many Americans. Although I have to admit that on my radio show Monday afternoon, I had an unbelievable number of really profound, intelligent callers talking about this. So I know you're out there. You're there. You just got to speak up. You can't let the haters and the fear mongerers, you can't let them take up all the oxygen in the room. We can't let them make all the noise. We have to stand up. We have to speak out. And it would be so nice if there was a gun control law that would make all this go away, but there's not. And some people point to gun control, and and some people point to mental health. And the president brought up mental health. Mental health it is an issue, but I don't know what's going to stop somebody who feels so slighted in life. They didn't get their way, or something's not going their way. What is it about some people that feel like they're entitled to the American dream? Nobody's entitled to the American dream. Nobody's entitled to anything. You're only entitled to an equal opportunity. But we're not entitled to have life go great. It's up to us to make it go great. And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes life sucks. And I don't care who you are. Sometimes life sucks. And sometimes you get knocked on your ass. And you have the option of picking yourself up. So instead of whining and complaining that things aren't going your way, and instead of deciding that you got to go shoot somebody because things didn't go your way, just, man, pick yourself up and do something. I mean, I had one guy call my radio show and say that the white American male has been pushed down since the end of World War II. World War II ended what, 1945? Think about the dominant role white males played in our society from 1945 until the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Women were not even an equal part of our society, even white women. So this idea that, the white man's being pushed down, I mean, I guess I understand why some people think that, but if you just stop for a minute and realize, wait a minute, we're talking about life. And life isn't always fair. Even if you're white, life's not always fair. So if something goes wrong, you get off your ass, you dust yourself off, and you try harder. You try again. And nobody can take that away from you. And so this idea that the white male is being pushed down, it almost seems like the white male is threatened by the reality that others are gaining equal rights. I had one guy call my radio show yesterday, and talk about how um, this is all like, the white people have taught this kind of hate in young white people. Look, one shooter was 21. The other shooter, who's dead, is 24. Was 24. He's not 24 anymore. He's dead. Now I'm okay with that. Um, these are young people. When you were 21, when you were 24, did you listen to everything your parents told you? Didn't at some point in your life you reject some of the things that your parents told you? Of course you did. And by 21, you have developed a sense of who you are. You've developed a sense of the world. And it is quite possible that these two suspects were never taught to hate by their parents. They learned it on their own. Or they somehow just bought into this rhetorical BS that you're a victim. You're a victim, so you have a right to be angry. And you have a right to go out and try to manifest that anger, even if it means shooting people. There's no justification for it. None. And if you're alive and watching this, if you're alive and watching the coverage on the news of all that has gone on, life ain't that bad. And so don't accept this lame BS that whites are losing everything, because there's going to come a time in this country when whites may not be the majority. In fact, we've got minorities growing so fast that nobody's going to be the majority. And I don't know about you, but I want to prepare the world for me, for my son, my daughter-in-law, and for my granddaughter. I want to prepare the world for them to be a world where everybody's treated fairly, even if at some point whites are not the majority. You can't just want equality when you're the one who controls equality. It needs to be about equality. And race and religion shouldn't have anything to do with equality in America. I'm Scoot. Have a good day.